This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo faced hostile questions from senators Wednesday over the president's remarks after his meeting with Vladimir Putin at the Helsinki summit. But over at the White House, the president was proclaiming victory after he and the European Union decided to pull back from a possible trade war. Dale Hurt has the story.
So we had a big day, very big.
In a hastily called Rose Garden appearance, President Trump and European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker said the U.S. and the EU have agreed to hold off on new tariffs that could have led to a trade war over autos. And they agreed to work toward the same goal on non-automotive goods.
We agreed today, first of all, to work together towards zero tariffs, zero non-tariff barriers, and zero subsidies on non-auto industrial goods. Thank you. We will also work to reduce barriers and increase trade in services, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, medical products, as well as soybeans. Soybeans is a big deal.
The president also said a deal to sell American liquefied natural gas to Europe was coming.
The European Union wants to import more liquefied natural gas, LNG, from the United States, and they're going to be a very, very big buyer.
Over on Capitol Hill, Trump's Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was on the hot seat over the president's statements at the Helsinki summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
You come before a group of senators today who are filled with serious doubts about this White House and its conduct of American foreign policy.
Senators were upset that President Trump said he did not believe U.S. intelligence agencies who said Russia meddled in the 2016 election. Pompeo reassured them.
I want you to know President Trump has stated that he accepts our intelligence community's conclusion that Russia meddled in the 2016 election. He has a complete and proper understanding of what happened. I know. I briefed him on it for over a year.
And he said the White House has not gone soft on Russia.
I personally made clear to the Russians there will be severe consequences for interference in our democratic processes.
Dale Hurt, CBN News.
Here's a look at some of the other major headlines we're following for you today inside the CBN newsroom. A group of House Republicans want to impeach Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. Rosenstein is in charge of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation. He's been criticized for failing to provide documents about why the FBI launched its investigation into alleged collusion between President Trump's presidential campaign and Russia. 11 House Republicans are charging Rosenstein with high crimes and misdemeanors for not providing information sought by Congress. Today is the court-ordered deadline for the Trump administration to reunite thousands of immigrant children and their parents at the border. Authorities say the order covers more than 2,500 children older than 5 years old. As of Tuesday, 1,000 children were already reunified with their parents. Officials say uniting the rest may be a challenge, as many parents have already been deported. Police in China are questioning a man who set off a small suicide bomb outside the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. The homemade device slightly wounded the suspect but did little damage. A Chinese security official called it an isolated security incident and said police are dealing with it. The U.S. Embassy, by the way, in Beijing is one of the most guarded in the world with a heavy security presence. For more on these stories and others throughout the day, you can always check out cbnnews.com. House Republicans and President Trump hope to grow the economy even more by adding another round of tax cuts this year. The House GOP have launched an effort to make permanent the individual tax cuts now set to expire in 2026. One key to passing this legislation would be gaining support from Democrats who face a challenging midterm campaign. CBN's White House correspondent Ben Kennedy brings us the story now from Washington.
Not one Democrat voted for tax reform the first time around. Republicans plan to use this as either a way to drum up support across party lines or as ammo against Democrats in the upcoming midterms.
We're here to talk to you about making permanent this tax relief.
And it's clear Tax Cut 2.0 will be priority number one for House Ways and Means Chair Kevin Brady, who plans to focus on helping the middle class and small business.
One, so they can continue to grow. Two, so we can add 1.5 million new jobs.
The overall goal combines making the individual tax cut permanent while growing the incentive for savings.
If you got a good thing, keep it rolling along.
And economist Stephen Moore believes that momentum will lead to more money in people's pockets. Moore served as one of the top advisors to President Trump during the campaign. The key to getting this out of the gate is Democrats. And with the midterm election just around the corner, it could help sway a couple votes.
What about some of those Democrats who are up for re-election in the Senate? People like Heidi Heitkamp of North Dakota, or the senator in West Virginia, or Donnelly in Indiana. They are facing tough races. Do they want to vote against a tax cut, a month or two before the elections?
Do you feel like their constituents are telling them to get on board?
I think, well, those are states where Trump is very popular and the tax cuts are very popular. So, yeah, I'm sure that those three senators in particular, including, Manchin of West Virginia, are hearing from their constituents saying, this is working. Let's make it permanent.
We can protect them against a future Washington trying to steal back those hard-earned dollars.
Brady wants to give voters assurance that the tax relief they have now will continue years down the road.
The time of submittal, what would you think that would be, Kevin?
So we anticipate the House voting on this in September.
Do you see it happening possibly in September?
I hope so. I think there's no question a tax bill that would make the tax cuts permanent would pass the House by a fairly good margin. The question is, of course, the Senate.
In the Senate, Republicans only have a razor-thin majority, so they need a united front, unless they can tempt a Democrat to come to their ranks. Ben Kennedy, CBN News, Washington.
A series of ISIS attacks killed more than 200 people in Syria Wednesday. Jihadists attacked several villages and set off suicide bombs in the deadliest attack in months. The attacks come as experts believe ISIS is also making a return in Iraq. U.S. and coalition forces ran the terrorist group out of the country back in December. But now, months later, officials say a new surge of attacks in Iraq and Afghanistan could mean the next phase of the war is on the horizon. The Department of Defense says it is working to keep the group from resurfacing. Christian author and pastor Dr. Tony Evans has announced the sudden and unexpected death of his niece, Winter Evans Pitts. Pitts was a mother of four whose daughter, Elena Pitts, starred in the hit Christian film War Room. Elena wrote a tribute to her mom on Instagram in which she asked for prayers and said, quote, "I serve a big God and am reminded He is in control." Pitts was also the founder of a ministry called For Girls Like You. She ran a magazine by the same name to empower girls to walk boldly with Christ. Coming up, it's been one of the most important stories in the news in recent years, cyber hacking. It ranges in scope from breaking into the computers of the federal government, businesses, and even our personal private information. So what can you do to protect yourself? We've got the story coming up. From hacked emails to major data breaches, cyber attacks could cripple our economy and threaten national security. How serious of a problem is this? And what can you do to protect your personal information? I'm Mark Martin is on the story.
October 21st, 2016. Hackers shut down half of America's internet by targeting Dyn, a company that manages key parts of the web's infrastructure. Within minutes, the cyber attack takes major websites like Twitter and Spotify offline. It's just the latest example of cyber warfare. Other major cyber hacks garnering national attention recently: the Yahoo data breach in September, WikiLeaks emails relating to Hillary Clinton's campaign and the Clinton Foundation, and the leak of roughly 20,000 emails involving the Democratic National Committee in July.
Every day, whether it be a government agency, an academic institution, or a healthcare provider, they are getting hit digitally, interrogated, reconned, probed by entities out there. Now, that entity could be like a little kid who's just bored. It could go all the way up to a nefarious actor or an organization in a foreign nation. It could be the foreign national government themselves.
A major reason why the U.S. needs cybersecurity experts like Regent University professor Dr. Jeffrey Heyman. He believes today's worst offenders in this computer espionage are China, Russia, and North Korea.
It is hard to defend when you've got billions of people in totalitarian governments who wish to do harm to democratic governments.
Countries like China and Russia and even Iran are standing up entire divisions of their military just to do cyber-based attacks. So these are cyber soldiers. We're trying to do the same thing, but we're really late to the game. Our guys are really good at it, but we're not quite there yet, but hopefully we will be very soon.
FBI Special Agent Robert Cochran tries to spread the word about cybersecurity danger to companies like Eastern Data. He said of the 14,000 agents in the FBI, 1,500 fight cybercrime, a 60% increase in just the last 5 years.
So it's very important for us to understand that in this spectrum, which largely used to be controlled by business for communication capabilities, now it's being militarized and governments are using it to exploit, what they need to.
Cochran says for now, the United States is focusing on defense in this new form of warfare.
I can say that the military, or the United States, generally looks at attacking another country as an act of war in many cases, and our military is reserved for conducting warfare. So what we've seen mostly from what I've seen in this area and in my relationships with the military is defensive mechanisms, us trying to bolster up our defensive capabilities, and we work with our Department of Defense partners to do that.
If cyber warfare between nation states sounds far removed, let's talk small scale. How do you protect yourself at work and at home from a cyber attack? The National Cybersecurity Alliance says one way is to practice good cyber hygiene.
Keep a clean machine, right? You want to keep all your internet connected devices free from infections and malware. And that usually means, in 99% of the cases, keeping all your software up to date. And this is not just on your PC, this is also on your phone. This means operating systems.
Michael Kaiser is the executive director of the National Cybersecurity Alliance. In addition to computer hygiene, he urges people to lock down the login. In other words, add an extra layer of protection beyond your password. There are a number of options, such as fingerprint scans, currently available on many smartphones and tablets. Kaiser also wants people to be cyber aware.
Think about these emails that are coming into your inbox. Is that a link I should click on? Is that something I should open, right? That website that I've never been to before, maybe should I go to that right away, or should I go somewhere else where I'm more confident and more trusting?
And don't forget to back up critical information.
When I say backup, a true backup means not a separate hard drive contained on the same system. It means a separate hard drive or a separate system not connected to that network.
Heyman believes education is the best defense. He heads up the Regent Master's program in cybersecurity.
You should have a plan for every person coming into your company, agency, whatever. They get trained on basic cybersecurity, information technology, computer science methods, defenses, common phishing techniques.
The National Consumers League also helps educate consumers on cybersecurity.
I think that data breaches, whether they come from a nation state or from a cyber criminal, absolutely affect all consumers, and all consumers should be concerned about this.
So what kind of laws are on the books to fight cybercrime? Breo says on the federal level, the protection is surprisingly minimal. His organization is lobbying to change that.
We'd like Congress to pass a comprehensive national data security standard that will require any business or organization that collects information about their customers to give it a reasonable level of data security.
And to those who think that's overregulation on the part of the federal government, Breo offers this.
I think that's certainly a valid concern. At the same time, I would point to all of the data breaches that happen nearly on a daily basis and the impact that's having on consumers and what consumers want.
Nearly on a daily basis. It's a phrase that reflects the times in which we live and a reminder to stay vigilant. Mark Martin, CBN News, Virginia Beach and Washington.
Up next, he was an Olympic athlete, a high jumper. Then he was paralyzed by a freak injury. But that has not stopped Jamie Nieto. We're going to bring you his amazing story coming up next. Jamie Nieto was an Olympic high jumper who was paralyzed by a freak injury, but he is now on an amazing journey. Take a look at this chapter. These are unforgettable images of Jamie Nieto competing and winning Olympic competitions.
Everything that we do starts with the mind, and if you believe, then you can achieve in a sense, If you think that you're not going to do something, you're probably not going to do it, but if you think that you can, you're more apt to actually do that. So especially with my situation, especially with track and field, I didn't always believe that I could become an Olympian, and it took time, and then I did start to believe, and when I did start to believe, things started to change in my life. I always had an idea that I had the talent to do it, and then when I finally did do it the first time, I was like, okay, it all came to pass. But then the second time when I went to the Olympics, I was 35 years old, and it was like, do you think you can compete against these guys who are 10, 15 years younger than you? I was like, I don't know. You haven't jumped so high in 8 years. You know, you haven't been on the top of your game in a little while. Do you think you can actually do this again? And I didn't totally believe, but I convinced myself that I could do it. And I did that by prayer. I did that by positive affirmations. I did that by surrounding myself with people who are like-minded, you know. And then I did start to believe within a year that, oh, I can do this, you know, and I did.
We caught up with Jamie on the set of the PureFlix soap opera, Hilton Head Island, where he plays a chief surgeon. This is yet another milestone on his incredible road to recovery. The two-time Olympic high jumper injured himself in a freak accident and became paralyzed.
I was coaching and I was demonstrating, and I had some athletes that were Olympic hopefuls, and as I did the jump, my foot slipped and I went straight from my feet to my head, and the disc in my neck pressed back and bruised the spinal cord, and I was paralyzed from the chest down. Yeah, and it was a tough time. You know, it's still hard sometimes, but I'm getting through it, and you know, by the grace of God, I'm back up on my feet. You know, the doctor said that I would only have 30% mobility back, which is not walking. I don't know what 30% is. Maybe just feeding yourself. I don't know, but I knew with my faith, my determination, my will to keep wanting to be the best that I could be, I would get back on my feet, I would walk again, I'm going to run again, because I have the fight of Olympian. Family and friends saw that Olympic fight when Jamie proposed to his wife and vowed to walk down the aisle. My wife said, oh, it's probably take you about 150 steps to get out of the church, and I was like, okay, so I started practicing on my walking, and at the time I was barely falling into 3 steps, you know, like we had a big box, and they would let me go, and then I'd try to take my 3 steps, and I was kind of trying to keep up with myself. Well, eventually, you know, I started gaining more balance and stability, and those steps got a little more solid, and even now, you know, I use crutches to kind of stabilize me, but I can walk with like half steps, and I'm a lot more solid and stable, so yeah, it was a blessing to be able to do that, and I'm very happy that I was able to do that from me and my wife.
Jamie Nieto had the greatest performance of his career this weekend in a church. Jamie suffered a paralyzing spinal cord injury last year when he slipped while doing a backflip. During rehab, he focused on one single goal, learning to take 130 steps. And on Saturday, he reached it walking his new bride, Siobhan, down the aisle after their wedding ceremony.
Through the most difficult times was the times I prayed the most. I mean, I pray all the time, but that's kind of what got me through the most difficult times. You know, when I didn't believe and I didn't know, and all these questions kept coming into my mind, I just prayed about it and asked God to heal my body and touch me with his healing hands and help me to get back on my feet. And so through most of the process, I would say 90% of the time I've been pretty upbeat, and you know, 10% of the time I upset or frustrated because I can't do what I used to be able to do, because I was so athletic, so mobile, I can do pretty much whatever I wanted to do. And now kind of regaining those movements and that mobility, that's the stuff that made me like, oh, it's kind of frustrating and irritating. But then, so I would take time and I would just let it out, and I would pray, and I would sit there and I would talk to God when I'm like frustrated, and then I let it go and I move on. So, you know, for 5 or 10 minutes, I might be sitting there praying out loud and asking God to help me, and then I'm okay, you know.
He is such an inspiration. For more from Jamie Nieto, you can catch him on Season 2 of PureFlix Hilton Head Island. It'll be back in the fall. Stay with us. There's much more of CBN NewsWatch coming up, and it's coming up right after this. Welcome back. Time now for your Thursday Thankful. And today I'm reminded of this simple prayer my son would pray when he was so very young. He'd say, "Dear God, thank you for making the sun come up, and thank you for Mommy and Daddy. Amen." It was a simple prayer, but a big reminder that every day is a new one with a brand new supply of grace and mercy and a fresh start to do better and be better than we were just yesterday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. We'd love to hear what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. You can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make this a thankful Thursday, everybody. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye, and God bless you.